So good evening, everybody. We're going to start with new chapter from the J.T. Kent's philosophy, the third one. In fact, it is the most important chapter because it has a lot of meaning. Third chapter is related with the third aphorism, and third aphorism from the organ of medicine is also called as a miniature of organ of medicine. So, if one want to become homeopath, how he should be? What are the different qualities of the true practitioner of healing art? Those are thoroughly explained by Hahnemann in this aphorism. And that's why this aphorism has a lot of significance. So we have to start with the third chapter, and where he has written the perception of what is curable in disease, curative in medicine, and the application of the last to the first. So these are the three parts which you have to correlate: the knowledge of disease, indication, knowledge of medicinal powers, and knowledge of application of knowledge of medicinal powers to the knowledge of diseases. These are three important things which we have to learn in this aphorism. First, we'll learn there. So he starts with the session, Organon, section 3, that means aphorism 3. If the physician clearly perceives what is to be cured in diseases, that is to say, in every individual case of disease. In bracket, in the aphorism, it has been written that knowledge of disease, indication. I think in books it has been not written, but in aphorism it has.
No sound, sir.
Hello. No sound. Because of. Hello. Hello. Now. Hello.
Yes, sir. Now it is okay.
Because of rains, it might happen. The problem is with the connection. So that's all. So when he starts with this aphorism, Hahnemann have written that if the physician clearly perceives what is to be cured in diseases, that is to say, in every individual case of disease. In the aphorism, there is a bracket and it has been written over there, knowledge of disease, indication. If he clearly perceives what is curative in medicine, that is to say, in each individual medicine, again in the aphorism it has been written in the bracket, knowledge of medicinal powers. That is the second point. And if he knows how to adapt according to clearly defined principles, what is curative in medicines to what he has discovered to be undoubtedly morbid in the patient, so that recovery must ensue, to adapt it as well in respect to the suitability of the medicines most appropriate according to its mode of action to the case before him. And in bracket it has been written, choice of the remedy, the medicine indicated, as also in respect to the exact mode of preparation and quantity of it required. In bracket it has been written proper dose and the proper period for repeating the dose. If finally he knows the obstacles to the recovery in each case and is aware how to remove them so that the restoration may be permanent, then he understands how to treat judiciously, individually, and rationally. And he is a true practitioner of healing art. See, this aphorism gives you all the qualities of homeopathic physician. What are the qualities? So first important thing which he has mentioned over there, that if the physician clearly perceives, the word he has utilized is perceiving. Perceiving is more better work Hahnemann have utilized. Perceiving has the ability to understand the things even without verbal communication. The sixth sense is there. The understanding is there. Just looking towards the person, you can catch, yes, something is wrong. That is perception. So what he utilized the word, if he clearly perceives what is to be cured in diseases, That is to say, in every individual case of disease. And when he writes knowledge of disease followed by comma and indication, it means you must have knowledge of disease in general, at the same time how that disease is expresses with the indication in that specific individual. So two things have been covered by Hahnemann in that aphorism. So he never says it is just knowledge of disease. It is knowledge of diseases as a nomenclature, at the same time how it expresses through the indication. The second point, second knowledge one must have, that he starts with. So first is knowledge of disease, comma indication. Second, if he clearly perceive what is curative in medicine, that is to say in each individual medicine. Number two is knowledge of medicinal powers. The words which he has used are very clear. He never says knowledge of medicines. He says knowledge of medicinal powers. What do you mean by powers? Powers means every remedy in a different potency is a different remedy. So for one patient, it might require during this rainy weather rust of 6, in another 200. Just a minute. Sir. In another, patient might require 10 m. It varies from individual to individual. And that's why one must understand the knowledge of medicinal powers, how every remedy in different potency acts in a different manner. Then the third is, and if he knows how to adapt according to clearly defined principles, according to clearly defined principles, means 7 cardinal principles of homeopathy, at the same time Herin's law of direction of cure. What is curative in medicines to what he has discovered to be undoubtedly morbid in the patient. So now it is an application of knowledge of medicines to the knowledge of diseases, so that recovery must ensue. To adapt it as well in respect to the suitability of the medicine, the most appropriate according to its mode of action, to the case before him. Choice of the remedy, the medicine indicated the third knowledge. So he should have a third knowledge of application of knowledge of medicinal powers to the knowledge of disease and indications. That is what is finding it out a right remedy. That is the third knowledge. And how that the medicine which is indicated for that specific patient. And then fourth point which he mentions, most appropriate according to its mode of action to the case before him, as also in respect to the exact mode of preparation and quantity of it required. Proper dose. So you have selected right medicine in right potency, but how much to give? Whether to give a single dose, whether to repeat it, whether not to repeat it, everything, which scale you have to utilize, whether decimal, whether centesimal, whether 50 millisimal, everything you have to take into consideration. And one more thing which he explains, and the proper period for repeating the dose. So how much time you are going to give that remedy? That is another knowledge. So first is knowledge of disease indication, number is knowledge of medicinal powers. The words are very important. This should be mentioned as it is. Number 3 is choice of the remedy, the medicine indicated. Number 4, the proper dose. And number 5 is the repetition of period, or repetition of the dose for proper period. That is 5. And sixth one is, and if finally he knows the obstacles to the recovery, underline, that is 6 point. What is obstacle in the process of recovery means what is the maintaining cause in the case, that you have to find it out. So obstacles to the recovery in each case, and is aware how to remove them so that restoration may be permanent. So he must have that knowledge, what might be the obstacles and how he can remove them so that the recovery will be permanent. Then, if he have all those knowledges, then he understands how to treat judiciously and rationally. And he is the true practitioner of healing art. This fellow who has these 6 knowledges, then he can become a true practitioner of healing art. So this is what Hahnemann have mentioned. Now we have to understand what is the philosophy behind that. Which are the words which are very important from Kant's point of view. where he highlights and what he highlights, what he illustrates, what he explains, all those things are important. So what we'll start with the Kant's philosophy on this aphorism. The translator has correctly used here the word perceive, which is to see into, not merely to look upon with the external eye, but to clearly understand, to apprehend with mind and understanding. So perceiving is just not just observing, it is observing with mind, observing with understanding. In Marathi, we call it samjun घेणे. It is a perceiving is just understanding with the mind. That is very difficult. If Hahnemann had said see instead of perceive, it might have been taken to mean seeing with the eye a tumor to be cut out, or by opening the abdomen to see the deceased kidney, or by examination of the urine to see there is albumin or sugar present, by removing which in some mysterious way the patient would be cured. So if Hahnemann would have used the word see instead of perceiving, it is just a vision. What you observe with the naked eyes, that is the only thing which will be visible for you. So that this thing which he mentioned, but it is not so. We don't have to see this because this is the end product. Tumor is the end product. Renal calculi is the end product. Gallbladder calculi is the end product. Liver cirrhosis is end product. That is not actually the disease. Disease is prior to it, and which we have to understand with our power of perceiving. And that's why the words which are used by Hahnemann are very clear. It is evident by this that the Hahnemann did not look upon pathological change or morbid anatomy as that which in disease constitutes the curative indication. So what he says, Hahnemann did not exactly looked upon the pathologies because pathologies are not the diseases, they are the products of diseases. So his thought is not just to find it out. The morbid anatomy means changed anatomy, changed physiology. That is not his thought. His thought is to pursue man behind that where the disease is there. The physician must perceive in disease that which is to be cured and the curative indication in each particular case of the disease, the totality of the symptoms. That is, the disease is represented or expressed by the totality of the symptoms, and this totality, which is the speech of nature, is not itself the essay of the disease. It only represents the disorder in the internal economy. So what he wants to perceive? He has to perceive how the patient presents his totality, how the patient expresses his totality. So every patient when enters in your clinic is a different patient having the same diagnosis. Patient comes to you, doctor, I mean, please look towards me. I'm suffering a lot. Do something. He's having the chest pain. Another comes with the chest pain and he says, doctor, I am having chest pain. I'm little bit worried. Is there any problem? Just check me. See, the state has changed. Here the individual is different. You have to treat that individual, not only the chest pain. Chest pain is the expression with individuality of that person. So in the first case where the patient is in a panic state, comes to you, makes you to think about the opponent. In another patient where the anxiety is dominating than fear or panic state, where you might think of arsenic album. So here you don't have to treat the chest pain. Here you have to think the patient behind that his symptoms. And this is what one has to understand. This Hahnemann wants to explain the totality of symptoms of the disease expressed by the patient are real things with which you can approach towards the remedy. So these are the things which we have to pursue. There is this totality, which is real external manifestation of in the tissues, will arrange itself into form to present, as it were, to the physician, the internal disorder. So this in this way it expresses. For example, a patient comes to you with severe eczema of the hands and there is severe burning. And he says that, doctor, I want to put it in cold water and then I feel better. Another patient has similar eczema. He comes to you and he says, doctor, there is severe burning. I want to keep it in hot water. Finished. The man is expressing through his indications. Man is expressing with the individuality through the symptoms. So symptom is the language of the disease which is happened inside. You are not observing the disease, you are observing the external manifestations of the disease. And those you have to catch. And this is what is called as a perceiving. So when the patient is talking, you should perceive what exactly the individuality he is expressing. That guides you towards the right remedy. The first thing to be considered in a case is, what are the curative indications in this case? What is it? What are the curative indications in this case? What signs and symptoms call the physician's attention as curative signs and symptoms? This means not every manifestation is a curative indication. The results of disease occurring in tissues in chronic diseases. Hello. What signs and symptoms call the physician's attention as curative signs and symptoms? This means not every manifestation is a curative indication. The results of disease occurring in tissues in chronic diseases such as cancerous changes, tumors, etc., are of such a character that they constitute curative signs. One. Then बोलो. The results of disease occurring in the tissues in chronic diseases such as cancerous changes, tumors, etc., are of such a character that they cannot constitute curative signs, but those things which are curable, which are capable of change, which can be materially affected by administration of remedies, the physician must know they are the curative indications. Just a minute.
So low voice.
Hello. Hello. Are you getting my voice?
Yes, sir, we are getting, but you, if you keep your mic a little bit higher, sir, it will be good.
Not because of that. It is already high. It is not because of that. It is because of the connection problem. Okay. Let it be.
Okay, sir. Yes.
So what he says over there, the first thing to be considered in a case is what are the curative indications in this case. So there are two things. Patient comes to you with some pathology. He comes to you with liver cirrhosis, for example. There are 3 patients of liver cirrhosis in front of you. You have a written diagnosis, already they are diagnosed, and you have the written diagnosis of all 3 patients, they are having liver cirrhosis. Are you able to prescribe for them? It is just a nomenclature done on the basis of tissue change. That cells gets atrophied, they become shrunken and all those things. But you are not able to come to a specific remedy because it never happens so. It is not possible. So this is only part. Then what is the use of knowing the liver cirrhosis? Liver cirrhosis is, we know the liver cirrhosis because of which we know what may be the disease pathogenesis. Because of which we know what may be the prognosis and progress of the disease. Because of which we know what type of cure can be achieved with this patient. These are the things. Our remedy will not be dependent upon it. It depends upon how that patient indicates, what it indicates, whether he expresses any specific symptom, whether he expresses, yes, sir, I'm having very severe pain in right side and it goes from front side, right hypochondriac region. This is the chest, below the chest, and it goes to the back side and same point on the front side, same side at the back side. I'm having very severe pain, and whenever I take deep breath, it used to aggravate that. And it is associated with a jaundice. See, the symptomatology is expressing over there in this form, which indicates something of that individual nature, where the disease is transmitting or the pain is transmitting from the anteriorly to the posteriorly, from right hypochondriac region to the posteriorly at the just subscapular region. And this type of pain associated with nausea, associated with vomiting, associated with jaundice, you might think of the remedy. But on the basis of liver cirrhosis, you cannot. Another patient, liver cirrhosis is there. But here the patient is having pain in epigastric region and there is tenderness over the just in epigastrium or end of the liver. And the pathology lies over there. The left lobe of the liver gets enlarged over there. So that is another pathology which you can find it out. You might think of the cardasmar on the basis of that. So everything is expressed individually, and those indications are important, not the name of the diseases. So knowledge of diseases is important only for the purpose of understanding disease pathogenesis, the progress, the prognosis, but our prescription depends upon the indication with which patient presents us. Every patient presents it in a different manner, and those we have to catch. We'll stop over here. Tomorrow we'll discuss the rest of the things, because next paragraph, big paragraph, and where we have to learn many things. So that paragraph we'll keep for tomorrow's session. We'll continue with it in tomorrow's session. So because this aphorism one has to understand clearly. Okay. So we'll stop over here. We'll meet at the 9:30 with new medicine Ledampal. Be there, ask your friends to join, and we'll learn many aspects of Ledampal in today's session. So that's all for today. If any queries are there, we'll have a chat. Otherwise, we'll stop. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.